Alright, so here's Phoenix again. She's going to show us the parts of the machine. Let's get a little closer so you guys can see it better. This is just a standard model Singer sewing machine, and we'll show you the different parts. We're going to show you, if I'm getting really close here, the presser foot. There's a little knob on all of them that lowers that up and down. That's what you're going to slide the fabric under and then lower it down, and that's what holds the fabric while it sews. Get in really close underneath the presser foot. You see these little jaw-like things under there? Those are called feed dogs. Those are what grab your fabric and move it. So if your fabric isn't moving, it's because something's wrong with your feed dogs. Okay? And Phoenix's machine is what we call a top loader machine, meaning that her bobbin thread comes from below and she just drops the bobbin in there. The other thread, because all sewing machines sew with two thread, one from the top and one from the bottom. Let me widen out and we'll show you where the top thread goes. It goes up here, and Phoenix is going to put some thread on there. Almost all sewing machines have a little thing that looks like that, and you sew your thread on and then you sew a cap on to hold it in place. So you'll have one thread coming from the top and one thread coming from the bottom where your bobbin is. She's going to drop a bobbin in there for us right now. Now every sewing machine is a little bit different, so my advice is to check your manual to see exactly how to load your bobbin thread and your other top thread. A little while later we're going to show you what a front loading bobbin looks like as well. Okay, Phoenix is going to start her top thread, and if you can see right here, there's different places, hooks, and wheels that she'll run the thread through, and it is extremely important to follow the manufacturer's exact direction on how to thread your machine, because you are not going to get a proper stitch if it is not threaded correctly. Once you've done it a while, you'll realize almost all machines are a little similar as far as the way they thread, but all machine manuals will have detailed drawings of exactly how to thread your top stitch. She's threading the needle right now, folks.
That's a hand thread.
Yeah, she just threaded it by hand. There's other ways you can do it. There's machines that have automatic threaders. There's tools you can use to thread your needle if you have bad eyesight. And then she'll cover up her bobbin and pull it through by basically dropping the needle by hand and pulling it through.
I like to use my cap to pull it.
There she goes. It's all threaded and pulled through. Okay, now on the side of the machine over there is a hand wheel. And I'll show you that real quick because Phoenix just used her hand wheel. You can see there's a wheel there. When she turns that wheel, the needle goes up and down. And it goes down and grabs the bobbin thread, makes a knot, and keeps going, and that's how it forms its stitch. The other way to get it to do this is the pedal, and that's on the floor. There it is, and that's what you use when you want to do rapid stitching. You just put your foot on there and that sucker will go. Now all machines have different knobs and things. I'll give you a basic preview of what some of these knobs mean. The first is the reverse knob, because it is important to be able to tie it off. On this particular model, there's a little tab there that she pushes down. As long as she holds that down, her machine will sew in reverse. Some machines it's just a button, but that is really, really important when you're starting your stitch off. You want to tie it off by going backwards, forwards, and then continuing down the seam line. Also, on all machines, there is the ability to change the tension of the threads. In her machine, you can see there is a tension knob on the top. Now, for a beginner sewer, I would not recommend changing your tension at all. Go on auto, because changing your tension can really mess up your stitch, and you can end up with a stitch that's so loose it won't hold a seam together, or so tight it breaks every time. So go with the automatic directions until you become more confident. Then you can start looking online on how to change the tension. The other one is how to change your seam width, because you can make it stitch every millimeter, or you can make it drop a stitch every inch, depending on what you are wanting. Of course, If you're having it drop a stitch of 1 millimeter, that's going to be a very strong and tight seam line. And that's there, that says stitch width. Most machines it's on top, but there are some that have them on the bottom. You just have to kind of keep looking at that. You can also change the length of the stitch as well. That's what that is. You can imagine on a straight stitch, you're not really going to change the width that much, but if you're doing a zigzag stitch, you can make it a really wide zigzag or a really skinny zigzag, or a really long, stretched out. On her machine, you can see the stitches that her machine does right there on the front. There are machines that simply do a straight stitch. Can you point to the straight stitch? And a zigzag stitch. And that's fine. Those are the only two stitches that as a beginner you will need, a zigzag and a straight, and they are exactly what you think, zigzag and straight. But there are machines that have hundreds of different stitches, decorative stitches, utility stitches. In this case, her machine has, looks like about 20 different stitches there.
Yeah. You got about 10 utility and 10 stretch. And it labels which ones are stretch.
There they are all at the front. So whatever kind of machine you use, you know, you kind of have to learn how to use those different stitches, and that's all in your guide. Another feature of almost all sewing machines is the ability to take off parts of the sewing machine to make the table you're sewing on smaller. Now you might ask yourself, why would this be useful? Well, think about sewing a sleeve onto a jacket. You know, it's only about the size of your upper arm, and you've got to sew all the way around it. So you can imagine, there's your sleeve right there. You've got to be able to slide it around something small. So all machines have the ability to take off your accessory trays, making your sewing table just this small thing, and you can slide either the seam or the pant leg or whatever in there.